Welcome to our video series, Uncommon Christian Virtue, where we explore significant Christian virtues each week. Today we will discuss the virtue of quietness. In a world driven by noise, ambition, and self-promotion, the Spirit calls us to something more profound, Hēsychía. Not mere silence, but a quietness of spirit. It's the posture of a soul stilled by grace, humbled before truth, and ready to receive. Paul doesn't commend passivity, he invites us into peace. This quietness is not weakness, but strength under control, not withdrawal, but wisdom. It's the beauty of a life anchored in God, where stillness becomes the soil for transformation. Haysoo-kheeah is the virtue that listens before it speaks, trusts before it strives, and rests before it reacts. Some virtues speak loudest when they make no sound. In the noise of modern life, one ancient word dares us to pause, haysoo-kheeah, the quietness of spirit. But if strength can be silent, there is a kind of strength that does not shout. It does not demand attention, nor seek applause. It simply stands, unmoved, unwavering, while the storm rages around it. It holds fast in the dark, when no one sees. It listens more than it speaks. It carries others, not with noise, but with presence. This strength is not born of pride, but of peace. Not of control, but of surrender. It is the strength of still waters that run deep, of foundations laid in silence, of prayers whispered in secret. It is the strength of a soul anchored in grace, quiet, steady, unshakable. This is the virtue we are called to. Not weakness disguised as passivity, but quietness filled with power. The power to wait, to endure, to love without needing to be seen. Blessed are the quiet in spirit, for they reflect the heart of Christ. Few passages stir more debate than Paul's words in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 11 and 12. But beneath the surface of controversy lies a deeper invitation, not to silence, but to stillness. Paul isn't shutting down voices. He's shaping hearts. The Greek word haysoo-kheeah doesn't mean muteness. It means quietness of spirit. In a church wrestling with disorder and ambition, Paul calls for a posture of humble receptivity, not dominance. This isn't about gendered control. It's about spiritual formation. Before we react, we must ask, what kind of quiet does God desire?
Likewise, I want women to adorn themselves with proper clothing, modestly and discreetly, not with braided hair and gold or pearls or costly garments, but rather by means of good works, as is proper for women making a claim to godliness. A woman must quietly receive instruction with entire submissiveness. But I do not allow a woman to teach or exercise authority over a man, but to remain quiet.
Paul instructs that a woman should learn in haysoo-kheeah, not in silence as suppression, but in quietness of spirit, marked by humility and receptivity. This posture stands in contrast to disruptive ambition or domineering behavior, which Paul cautions against. The emphasis is not on muting a voice, but on cultivating a heart that listens before it teaches. Earlier in the chapter, verses 9 to 10, Paul contrasts external adornment, braided hair, gold, and costly attire, with the inner beauty of godliness. The proper adornment of a Christian woman, Paul argues, is not what she wears, but how she learns, with a spirit quieted by grace and shaped by submission to truth. This framing reveals Paul's more profound concern, not control, but character. He's calling for a community where learning is rooted in humility and where spiritual authority flows from a life anchored in God, not in appearance or ambition. Paul's words in 1 Timothy 2 aren't just about learning, they're about living. He contrasts the glitter of outward adornment with the quiet strength of godliness. Not the braided hair or gold, but the spirit beneath it. What matters most isn't how a woman looks, but how she walks, whether her life is shaped by ambition or by haysoo-kheeah, the quietness of spirit. This isn't about silence, it's about substance. A life anchored in grace, marked by humility, and adorned with peace. In Paul's vision, true beauty isn't worn, it's cultivated. A quietness of spirit isn't reserved for women. It's a calling for every believer. In 1 Thessalonians 4:11, Paul urges the whole church to aspire to live quietly, to mind your own affairs, and to work with your hands. This isn't about withdrawal, it's about dignity. In Galatians 5, the fruit of the Spirit includes peace, gentleness, and self-control, all marks of haysoo-kheeah. And in Romans 12:3, Paul warns against thinking too highly of ourselves, calling instead for sober judgment, a quietness that resists pride. For men, this isn't weakness, it's strength under grace. A quiet spirit doesn't shrink back, it stands firm without shouting. Even children are invited into this stillness. Though Paul doesn't use the word haysoo-kheeah directly for them, his vision in Romans 8 is clear. All who the Spirit leads are sons and daughters of God. The Spirit leads not through frenzy, but through peace. A child's quietness isn't just obedience, it's trust. In Galatians 5:26, Paul warns against becoming conceited or provoking one another, a call to quietness in relationships, not just in speech. Whether young or old, male or female, the Spirit forms in us a calm that listens, a strength that doesn't need to prove itself, and a peace that reflects the heart of Christ. Quietness of spirit isn't tested in isolation. It's tested in the pressure of everyday life. For many men, the temptation isn't loud rebellion. It's quiet striving, the need to prove, to perform, to stay ahead. But haysoo-kheeah offers another way. Let's step into a moment where that choice becomes real. He sits in his car just outside the office. Another meeting, another chance to prove himself. The pressure whispers, strive harder, speak louder, control the outcome. But instead of rushing in, he pauses. He remembers the call to live quietly, to think with sober judgment, to walk by the Spirit. And in that moment, haysoo-kheeah takes root, not silence, but strength. He enters the room not with bravado, but with peace. He listens before he speaks, contributes without competing, and trusts that his worth isn't earned, it's anchored in grace. In a world of noise, his quietness speaks volumes. Jack Crabtree, longtime tutor at Gutenberg College and philosopher-theologian, explores a forgotten virtue in his paper, The Miracle of Suppression. Drawing from Plato's dialogue Charmides in the New Testament, Crabtree defines Suppression not as mere self-restraint, but as a miraculous state of inner order, a soundness of mind, a settled self-awareness, a quiet contentment rooted in truth. He shows how this virtue, often misunderstood or overlooked, is essential to sanctification. And strikingly, one of its core expressions is haysoo-kheeah, quietness of spirit. In Crabtree's vision, the truly mature soul is not loud or restless, but calm, self-aware, and anchored in grace. The Spirit doesn't just quiet the soul, He orders it. In Paul's vision, haysoo-kheeah and Suppression walk hand in hand. Quietness of spirit isn't passive, it's paired with soundness of mind. Jack Crabtree calls Suppression a miracle, a gift of grace that brings clarity, discipline, and self-governance. Together, these virtues form a life that listens deeply and lives wisely, not driven by impulse or ambition, but shaped by truth and anchored in peace. In a world that rewards noise, God invites us into quiet. Not the silence of suppression, but the stillness of trust. Haysoo-kheeah is the posture of a soul anchored in grace, whether in the classroom, the workplace, or the home. It's the strength to listen, the courage to wait, the wisdom to rest. Paul's words aren't a restriction, they're a reorientation, a call to adorn our lives not with ambition, but with peace. This quietness of spirit isn't weakness, it's formation. It's the fruit of the Spirit in men, women, and children alike. In the noise of striving, it whispers of a deeper kingdom. One where beauty is cultivated, not performed. Where power is measured not by volume, but by peace. So the question remains, in the pressure of today, will we choose the quiet that transforms? I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful to your own studies. If you did, please click thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks for watching.